The great news here is that you don't have to buy $200 million worth of real estate to learn these tips. I'm going to share with you 8 tips that you need to be thinking about when you go out there and purchase property. If you're interested in building a portfolio of size so that you can retire early, then definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, personal development, and all things financial freedom. Now, fortunately for me, I not only have my portfolio that I've been building over 11 years, and as part of running one of Australia's fastest growing buyers agencies, we've bought over $200 million worth of real estate, and that equates to hundreds and hundreds of properties for investors like yourself. So when it comes to learning from people, knowing what works, what doesn't work, different structures, we know a thing or two because we've been doing it for almost 5 years. Now be sure to note down all 8 of these tips. So if you're getting bored halfway through, definitely just put it on 2x speed and go all the way through because there's some nuggets of gold, even including the last one, which could be the most important. So let's jump in. Number 1 is your strategy needs to be fluid. So if you go out there and say, look, I'm gonna have a strategy session, I know what the strategy looks like, that is only applicable in today's terms. So your numbers, your age, the current climate is what that strategy is dependent on. In establishing the buyer's agency, I always knew that the strategy session can't just be a one-off thing. It needs to be fluid. So as we have clients that have purchased over 7, 8, 9 properties with us over the last couple of years, we always have to tweak a few things because as we know, the market changes. We also have life events. So some of these clients that joined and they were buying themselves, then they had a partner, so they were buying together, and then they have kids. So every single step of that roadmap means that you need to keep it fluid. And that's why having those sessions ongoing means that you can always keep tweaking so you can get to the end goal the fastest and most efficient way. If you simply think that you can go out there, create a strategy, put it in the box and just say, well, all I need to do is now execute on that, you're definitely going to find yourself lagging behind and making more mistakes. You need to be adaptive in this market, and that's why even today, as I buy more property, I will sit there with my team and strategize on what my portfolio needs to look like. Number 2 is to get started, you need to team up. Now, for some people that are watching, you might already be in a position where you have the cash available, all the equity, as well as the borrowing capacity to go and purchase property. So yes, you should go out there and start with speed. But others may be in a position where you have the mindset that you want to invest, but you don't have the resources available to you. And that's why I say you need to be teaming up. So that could be teaming up with your partner, or it could mean getting a guarantor loan. I've gone into detail covering exactly how this works in this video about guarantor loans. I would say go and bookmark that because it makes so much sense once you've broken it down with context. But getting started on your first property is by far the hardest thing you'll have to do in building the portfolio. So the sooner you get started, that property can then be in the market for as long as possible, and that will then grow in equity. That equity can then be used as a deposit for the next property, and then you continue repeating that process. But if it takes you 3 years to get into the first property, you're already 3 years behind. So if you have these options available to you now, I would suggest go out there, team up with people and get started. Number 3 is that you need multiple properties to get wealthy. I know I've made a video that's very popular. It's in fact the most popular video on this channel, and it's how you can retire with 2 properties. And although that is true, it does take time. And from a lot of people that we've spoken to, a lot of you guys are asking, how do I retire in 10 years, 12 years, and 15 years? With the strategy of having 2 properties, and that's all you need to retire, you're gonna have to wait 20 plus years. So if you're patient and you're okay with that, then all you'll need is 2 properties. But if you want results faster and you want to own more real estate here in Australia, which by far is the most valuable thing and every Australian is obsessed with it, then you're gonna want to have to get started earlier and you're gonna have to compound that growth even faster. Now, I'm not saying you need 10 plus properties to get there. I would say that you would still need anywhere between 3 and 7 properties to get to the ideal goal based on the averages of who we've been speaking to over the phone. Number 4, and by far the most controversial on this list, is avoid buying your principal place of residence or your owner-occupier property for as long as humanly possible. Now, I say humanly possible because as humans, we have emotions. And one of those emotions is that I don't want to rent. I don't want to be kicked out. I don't want to have to move to a different place because my rental lease is over. I get it. I honestly do get it. I've been renting for the better part of 4 or 5 years. I would like to have my own house one day as well. But the longer that you can avoid having to make this mistake of buying your principal place first up, the wealthier you will be. And the reason I say that is because of a beautiful thing called borrowing capacities. When you go out there and you purchase your own principal place of residence, it absolutely destroys your borrowing capacity to go and build a portfolio worth millions and millions of dollars. Now, you may not have interest in building a portfolio that large, but that's in today's terms. And as I go back to the first thing, your strategy needs to be fluid. Because what happens if you are in a job right now that you absolutely love and you're like, this is my growth trajectory, everything's going to be great, and then the company goes out of business. And now you find yourself looking for a new job. You get into a job that you don't like, and suddenly the thoughts of retirement are sounding pretty good. And you start thinking, how do I do this in 5 to 10 years' time? But because you purchase your own occupier, you've now put the shackles on yourself to go, I can't actually move forward and take on more debt to purchase property. Now, I know despite me saying this, a lot of people are still going to go out there, buy their own place, and that's okay. I've got friends that have done the exact same thing, and although some of them are really struggling, they will still be house proud, and that is a complete personal choice. For me, I go and rent vest, and that I believe is the fastest way, especially if you're a young Australian in your 30s and 40s, to get started and build a portfolio that gives you choice. That is going to be the easiest option. But in knowing all of this, if you are interested in going and purchasing property with logic and knowing that you want to go out and retire with real estate, the only way to really do this is to avoid having to buy your own occupier for as long as possible, take on productive debt, build a portfolio, and then you can always use some equity, or you can go and sell some of those investment properties to come back into the market. And I don't want to hear that you're from Sydney and you're saying, well, Sydney market's growing faster than any of the properties I'll buy. That's a load of crap because you aren't looking in the right locations and you don't have the education to know where to look. If you get the right team, you'll be able to go and access those things. And I know that for a fact because there are some desired suburbs I would love to live in. I want to buy my own occupier place in those areas, and I monitor those. And believe me, the numbers are higher, but when you look at the percentage change, it's actually much, much lower. So as far as my desired suburbs in Sydney grow by say 5, 6, 7, 8%, as long as I'm outperforming that by 3 or 4% every year, which is what my portfolio does, it means that I'm actually making more ground towards getting back into real estate in Sydney. And I know a lot of people sit there and say, well, Sydney is the golden goose. That is the market everyone wants to be in. And although there is some truth to it because it is the most matured market over the long term, you will be surprised when you put all the numbers on paper and you say, well, actually, my property portfolio in all the other states has grown more because I picked the right asset at the right time. And that is the key in this. Do you really need an owner-occupier now? Or can you forego that for at least the next 2 to 3 years while you build up this portfolio? Number 5 is move with speed. If you are sitting there and saying, okay, I need to go out and buy property, I need to do my research, I need to go and talk to the right people and do this, it's most likely going to take you a minimum of 3 months' time. And you might say, well, that's actually not that bad. It's not that bad, but if you can get into the market within the next 2 to 3 weeks, wouldn't you rather do that? Because again, time in the market is better than timing the market. So if you can time the market, be in the market for as long as possible, you're going to make significantly more gains. And the quicker you make gains on the first property allows you to purchase your second property even faster. And now you've got 2 properties that allow you to have equity to purchase 3, 4, and 5. I would go out there and say, if I can go and purchase all of my properties in the first 2 years, I can sit back for the next 8 years. As those properties go into a positive cash flow territory, they take care of themselves, the machine is built. Then I can go and enjoy life the way that I want. I can travel, I can go and enjoy, and then I can suddenly say, okay, I have a portfolio that now is yielding me X amount. I have choice now. Now, on average, there's 66% of people that get a pre-approval having to reapply for a pre-approval because it lapses. Now, pre-approval from a bank or a broker, it usually lasts about 6 months, which tells me that 66% of people aren't buying property for at least 6 months. And that I don't think is by choice. I think it's because you aren't finding the right property, emotions kick in, and you can't find the right investment property anyway. And what adds to this entire problem is you keep missing out on those properties you need to purchase. And a big reason you miss out on those properties is because of buyer's agents. Now, in our case, I run a buyer's agent and I know full fact why agents will go and sell to a buyer's agent over an individual person, and it happens every single day. You can go and read as many articles as you like, but the reality is we are on the ground floor and doing it day in, day out, which means we're talking to more agents than humanly possible by one person. We're going out there and having a team of people that go and execute time and time again, which then builds confidence in those relationships. Because if you take a step back and you think about it from an agent's perspective, would they rather deal with the mum and dad investor who are very nervous about buying an investment property for the first time in a state that they aren't visiting? Or are they better off going and selling it to a buyer's agent who have already prepped their clients and are gonna hold their hand throughout the entire process? Which means from the sales agent perspective, they're gonna have to do a lot less and not have to deal with someone who's a nervous buyer, because that's what we do. And we have a full-fledged client account management team that allows you to go through that process, help you through understanding what is key, what is not. What are the most important points, and what are the things that are gonna get the deal across the line? So if on average 66% aren't purchasing for 6 months, and you find ourselves 100% of our clients are purchasing within 3 to 5 weeks, that is speed. And that is the speed that you want on your side when you're entering hot markets, especially as part of that growth cycle as well. Number 6 is the flow on to that, which is you'll go further with a team. You can go to a bank tomorrow and say, well, this is the bank I bank with, and this is the loan that they've given me. There are no other options. That is the only option you have. Versus you could go to a broker who are gonna say, well, we're gonna reverse engineer this. We're gonna find out how much you make, what are the options after that, and then align you with the best options across all of these lenders. So when you think about those two scenarios, it is highly likely you will be able to purchase a lot more, because your borrowing capacity could be 300 to 500K more if you simply went out to a mortgage broker. If you need a hand with any of this stuff, definitely email me. I'm gonna leave my email in the description box below, and let me know what exactly you're looking for. The same thing goes for an accountant. You could do it yourself or you outsource it. Just like a business, you need to treat this like a business. One of the biggest things that I've learned throughout this process are the ones that go out there and purchase 7, 8, or 9 properties with our help. They're the ones that operate like a business. They operate their portfolio like it's a machine on its own. There is no emotions. All I'm doing is saying, how do I get the best return on investment? And I continue repeating that process. When it comes to a buyer's agent, you've got to pay a fee. Let's get real. Most people don't want to pay the fee. Why? Because there's a cost to something that you think you could do better. But what you need to do is literally write down, what is it that I can do versus what a buyer's agent could do for me? And when you go through that list, and be honest with yourself, when you go through that list and you put the pros and cons of paying that fee and how quickly you can get into the market and what deals you can get in, you're gonna find that the value a buyer's agent brings you is far significant than the actual value you're having to pay. And so it's not really a cost, it's more of an investment in the entire process. Now, the second last one here is be careful who you listen to. I've heard this time and time again where it's like, Ravi, but my friend told me that this area is not good to buy in. Or Ravi, my dad told me that this isn't the right way to do it. Great, now let's get some context behind it. Who's doing this day in, day out? Who is specializing in the data and how much research is being done? And are we doing this with a strategy that's active in today's market, or was it more relevant 20 years ago? You answer those couple of questions and I think you'll know exactly who you need to listen to. The same way that I would ask no one to come to me for shares advice because I don't invest in it, I'm not active in it, and personally don't care about it, it means that you need to go and match who you're listening to with the right expertise. If they don't have expertise in that area, why are you listening to them? Now, the last one is action outperforms education. You can go and read a book, you can go do a course, you can watch videos, but a plan without action is useless. We can have all this education around us, but the reality is we need to be on the ground floor and actually playing the game. The best way to explain this, and it hits home for me, is I can go and watch numerous videos about the best technique of how to do a push-up to maximize muscle growth. When do I need to go and have protein because that's gonna maximize muscle growth? Well, guess what? It doesn't really matter if I'm gonna go and eat KFC all the time and I'm not going to the gym, because I can get the education, but unless I'm actioning those things, it means nothing. And that's the same way it applies to not only investing in real estate, but your development as a human being. You need to go out there, put runs on the board, take risks, and that's the way that you're gonna go out there and level up. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, then smash that like button, share it with someone else that needs to hear this sort of stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.